Thank you to Spark for being the presenting sponsor of African Tech Roundup's podcast mini-series on the entrepreneurial progress being made in some of the world's most vulnerable states. Spark is a Dutch NGO that bridges the gap between higher education and entrepreneurship in fragile and conflict-ridden regions of North and Sub-Saharan Africa and the Middle East. To learn more about Spark and the opportunities they're creating, visit sparkonline.org. That's spark-online.org. This episode features a candid chat with two remarkable entrepreneurs. The first is a second-generation Liberian cocoa farmer and University of Liberia accounting graduate who fled his homeland to live in the US to escape civil war. But he has since returned to his country to found a company called Green Gold Liberia, which produces charcoal briquettes using organic waste. Now, Green Gold is determined to end Liberia's ecologically damaging reliance on charcoal production activities, which destroy the country's ancient rainforests. Also on the show is a Syrian civil engineer born to an entrepreneurial family. After completing an engineering master's degree at the University of Aleppo, he founded a steel structure manufacturing business called Al-Maksoud in Syria in 2011, before being forced to abandon it a year later when war broke out in his country. He then emigrated to Libya, where he re-established his business, but alas, he was forced to desert the second factory he built and migrate to Turkey when Libya was gripped by violent conflict in 2014. Now, this determined gentleman has incorporated Al-Maksoud for a third time in Turkey and is currently cultivating a solid business reputation with Turkish customers and many others all over the world. So yes, this isn't a show to miss. Listen in for fascinating first-hand insights about what it takes to achieve entrepreneurial success in difficult places and to learn why the world needs more true-to-life stories like the ones you're about to hear. This podcast was taped at the fringes of Spark's 6th annual Ignite conference, a premier gathering of refugees, entrepreneurs, educators, private sector actors, government leaders, academics, and NGOs. This is an independent African Tech Roundup production. The opinions expressed by me, your host, and those of my guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the presenting partner, Spark.
Hi, my name is Dougba, General Manager, Green Gold, Liberia. I'm truly excited to be here at 2018 Ignite Conference. Yay!
Welcome. My name is Al-Maksoud. I am a civil engineer. I have Al-Maksoud for steel constructions, and I came to Ignite to share my story to this amazing conference. Thank you.
Welcome to you, Morris, and welcome to you, Ayham.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
So listen, you guys, I'm really excited because sitting with you, I feel like I'm in my element a little bit. I have a soft spot for entrepreneurs because I happen to be one. And I often find that when you're looking for an authentic opinion about a market reality, you're more than likely going to get it from someone who's in business, trying to make things happen, trying to grow an economy through employing people by bringing to life ideas and actually, pursuing profit and finding great ways to leverage that profit to do other great things. So this is what excites me about entrepreneurship. I think people sleep on the role of entrepreneurs to uplift any economy, never mind fragile states, never mind countries in developing parts of the world or emerging parts of the world. And so that's why I'm pretty honored to be at this conference speaking to you too. Having said that, I'm going to start with you, Morris. Let our audience in to your business. Start the story wherever you like. Maybe a pivotal point in the past that set you up for the success, frankly, that you now enjoy as an owner of a business, an operator of a business, and an employer of people.
I one day sat down in the U.S. I migrated to the U.S. because of the same civil war back in Liberia then.
What year was this?
It was back in 2001 when I migrated to the U.S. and I lived there because of the civil war at the time in Liberia. And one day, after living in America for about 15 years, one day I saw the briquette in Liberia called a fire coal. I said, wow, this briquette looks similar to the one that is used in Liberia for cooking. And I doubt it the way this briquette looks. I don't think the way people mine or process charcoal in Liberia, they would like to do that or doing it the same way here in the U.S. That led me to have gone to the factory. And when I saw the raw material that is being used in the U.S. to produce briquette, or fire coal, I realized it's a waste problem in Liberia. Imagine the wood dust from the carpenter shop. Imagine the coconut dye and an organic material for that matter. And that just stimulated me. I said, whoa, need to go back home and not only making profit, but try to make a difference by saving the environment, especially the rainforest in Liberia, because 98% of the household in Liberia uses charcoal. And the only source they have is cutting down trees. And I need not to tell you, when we're talking about climate change and global warming, it's a serious and huge issue to the world. And we just, for the last 2 years, been very passionate about it. And Green Gold Liberia now will look at ourselves, yes, for profit, but we'll look at ourselves in the context of social enterprise, entrepreneur.
So I'm going to ask you in a while to give us, some numbers, how you are keeping score of your progress in your company, the size of your business, your plans to grow and that stuff of that nature. But I want to turn to you, Ayham. Give us a similar introduction to you as an entrepreneur. How is it you end up on the shores of this beautiful dike here in Amsterdam talking to me about your entrepreneurial experience? What's your story?
So I will give you a brief about my story. It's a very simple, funny, sad in some sides of it. I started in Syria. I'm a civil engineer. I got a master's degree in steel structure. Started in Syria like a normal engineer. I had a small factory. Started to work with the steel structures. 1 year after setting everything okay, 1 year the war came to my country. I was forced to leave my country. So I moved to Libya, started another company, started another connection, starting a new stuff there. We worked for 2 years we had a very good work. We had a project in all over Libya.
What did you do?
We do steel structures like the warehouses, factory. It's all made of steel columns and beams. It's for industrial and it's industrial buildings. So this is our field, work field. So after moving to Libya, we have a good market, very good market. 2 years, everything is established. The war came again to Libya. Now, for the second time, I had the second war. I had to leave everything back and move to Turkey for the third time. So I lost 2 factories until now and started the third one. In Turkey now everything is going well. We are going from small factory to not a big but a medium factory. We are making new connections, hiring a new staff. For now, I think for me everything is going well, and I hope in the future we will be bigger and bigger, as I think.
So Ayham, the one thing you and Morris have in common is the R word that people often use to describe people who are forced to leave their country of choice or the country of residency. In your case, both the countries you were born to, and then later, in your case, Ayham, the country you decided to relocate to. The R word, of course, is refugee. You can't stand that word. Tell me why.
Sometimes it's refugee. Sometimes refugee needs some support. He needs the host country. He needs help. He needs food. He needs water. He needs to be safe. But for my case, I don't. It's 100% suitable because when we go to the host country, we started the companies there. We had the staff. We have some employees. So maybe we give something new to the country we went to. We started a new business. So maybe a refugee. I don't hate this word. I don't have a problem. But maybe it's not suitable. I'm supporting the country that I go to. I make export and import. It's good for the economy of the host countries. For this reason, I feel that refugee is not suitable in this place, especially in this place.
So Morris, what is your take on the framing of a word like refugee, what it's come to mean to you as someone who's had to experience what many of us imagine when we hear the word? How do you frame it for yourself, and what would you like people who use the word quite lightly, who perhaps haven't had your experiences, what would you like them to know about that word? What comes to mind?
The fight of the battle for me, like any other individual for that matter, we experienced civil war crisis that caused us to flee our country. And the fight of the matter, we formed this new community. We're fortunate at the time to move in the U.S. And we got starters. We started to contribute to the economy. And believe me, issue of refugee, yes, I felt that I was seeking refuge, and, in another place. The nomenclature, yes, it matters. Like someone would say asylum seeker and all those stuff. But once you live right, do it right, you have the status, and you will now graduate from that level. That look, you're no longer refugees or an asylum seeker now that you have gotten status. And I think that's where someone would say, oh, no, I don't want to hear that name again. But the reality in the past was truly you are seeking refuge. Now that you have found refuge and you made yourself relevant in the community, you feel offensive when someone referred to you as refugees. But for me, I don't see any difference.
Look, I kind of understand it in the sense that, I'm a diasporan. I'm not living in my country of birth. Zimbabwe is a slightly different situation. I think it's fair to say in my case, I'm not entirely economically positioned to move back to my home country. I don't think of myself as a refugee. I wouldn't consider the crisis in my country as one that mirrors the countries you're from. But I would take exception to any word that looks to minimize my role in actually adding value to any given community or country. I see myself as a global citizen. I see myself as a meaningful tax-paying resident of South Africa. And I think for that reason, definitions are important. And I think that's why we do the podcast. I imagine that in many parliaments of the Western world or global North, the word refugee has become synonymous with things that aren't represented by the two of you sitting in front of me. And for that reason, I think it's worth addressing. Does that make sense?
Yes, truly, it makes sense. It makes sense. Like you look at yourself, like you say, truly you are a global citizen,
Absolutely. So now back to a question I set up earlier on. Give us a sense of the scale of the business you built. We have some idea of where Ayham is taking this factory. I'm going to come back to you, Ayham, because I have quite a few questions about all the things that you would learn from one factory to the next, adjusting for context and culture, applying your skill set and your business entrepreneurship skills in different markets. I'm really curious about that. But Morris, give me a sense of the size of your business. How many people are you employing? Are you happy to share some sense of the revenue you're generating or the profit and your aspirations in terms of its growth?
Thank you. We stay at a startup stage. After 2 years, it's been real difficult. I can tell you, like I told you when I first wanted to become so passionate about going back to Liberia for the U.S. to do this business and try to see how I can contribute to help deforestation in Liberia, I did not really think about the math. And you would not believe it. I went cash in my early retirement 401k from the U.S. and took on this money and I said, hey, I need to go back home. And I undertaking $1 million investment and initially putting in my own $200,000 into this business. So we are just far off yet from where we want to achieve. Now that we producing products now that people can see and feel, for example, like the government. And beginning to see international NGO, like that's how we are here today with this Ignite conference. Because when we went back, we start to tell them, look, this is what we want to do. They say it's not possible. How can you produce charcoal from agricultural waste? They never believe it. But then based on our own effort, our own innovation, we went pressing on. And after 2 years, we are at the point of now producing, even the public getting to see our product. So we far off yet, but believe me, it's a promising business because the charcoal business in Liberia, when we did the statistic or the research, is a $50 million US gross domestic product. And we are the only alternative charcoal company. Imagine it. And, so it's a huge opportunity out there. But we have not gotten a cent from the government. We have not gotten a dime from the banks. And, it's all our own private initiative. Thank God for Ignite. When they came to our facility, we talked to them and they came and saw what we are doing. They say, hey, you need help. And that's how we are at this conference.
So from Syria to Libya to now Turkey, give me a sense of all the things that you've iterated. It's obviously an uncomfortable situation. You wouldn't have chosen to move from one market to another in the way you did. But what would you say you learned each time you had to up and transplant yourself? What sort of advantages do you think that provided you as an entrepreneur, do you think?
Starting a company for the first time, it's very hard. Starting again for the second time, it's easier. For the third time, it's easier. It's all hard. But I mean the concept that I need to think too much for the first time. How will I provide workers, materials, connections? The second time, it's easier. The third time, it's easier. So I'm not going to pretend that every time I suffer the same. It's exhausting. It's really exhausting. But you have a very experienced after all of that. Now, if you tell me to start any project, I feel it's not impossible. But if you ask me at the first time I was in Syria, everything was hard for me. Now I have a good experience. I have good connections. I know how to start a business in a new country. I know how to know the law. I have to study the laws, everything regarding the accounting system in each country. So I know what is the hard points that I should finish first. So moving from country to another give you an experience in how to think about this country, how to open the locks for this country. So moving a country to another makes your experience bigger. And I think I have a good experience from moving to 3 countries. And this is good for me now. Now I have a good experience as an entrepreneur, and as I am still young, I'm not that old.
And so what's the golden thread? When I think of these 3 markets, I have a hard time imagining any similarities. There are probably some, not least perhaps religion, maybe, but what golden threads would you say you observed as an entrepreneur from a business standpoint servicing these markets?
The main obstacle when you go to any country that you are a stranger. Whatever you do, you have let's say your products is the best quality, but the customer comes to you and looks, he will give you money, especially we sell buildings. It's not a small quantity of money, it's not $1,000, we're talking about 100,000. How will he trust you? If you are not trustable or you are a stranger, even if you are the best in the world, but you are a stranger finally, the customer will think he will take the money and run away. He should trust you first. After that, he will buy from you. The hardest thing that we faced to let the customers trust us by giving a very good product, by helping them in something is out of our scope, helping them how to start the project, give them some plans, some strategic plans for their factories. We have extra services in order to be able to sell our products. This is the main idea, that we're working more than our duty. Something out of our duty, but we had to do it in order to gain our customers' trust. This is the main idea.
And so, Morris, you represent a cherished ideal. The idea that African diasporans who are flung all over the world for whatever reason, that those individuals ought to occupy the front line of development, economic development in African countries. You represent that ideal in some respect. Talk me through the psychology of someone like you who moves to the US, is positioned quite comfortably, but doesn't feel comfortable in that and seeks to go back. I suppose I'm saying there are easier ways to make money, but you choose this. Talk me through your psychology and maybe help people who might be in your position but can't really bring themselves to imagine following in your footsteps.
The thing, like I say, entrepreneurship is something like it got to be in your DNA. I went to school in Liberia, graduated from college, started to do business. Due to the Civil War, I had to flee. And when I went abroad, I got a status, like you already said, I was very comfortable. Wife, kids, all going to college, and all was very good. But that DNA of mine kept triggering me, look, you need to go back home. You are more needed back home. And, because the sad thing about Liberia is that Liberians do not control the economy. They leave the economy to strangers, and as a result, Liberians feel that they cannot be a businessman. So for me, I say I will be one of the exceptions. I have to make a difference by going back home and make a difference, support the economy. And it's about something I would say it should be part of your DNA. You got to love what you're doing. You got to be passionate. Like I say, yeah, money, yes, it's good, but it's something that you got to make a difference in life. Look, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, all the big names that you've heard in the past, it was not like they were looking and say, money, and money is not all. Like, if you're waiting for money, or you're looking for comfort, or, you would never want to leave what you're doing or where you are to move on to another, situation. And the sad thing about Liberia is there's an economy that is not being supported SME. So if you prepare to say you want to venture in there, be prepared to take your risks, because you're not getting any support from the authority. You're not getting support from any family members. Like, they will tell you, hey, you go ahead. But once you believe in yourself and you believe in anything to do, like Christians, Muslims, we look up to our Creator with faith. That today I'm going out, and God is protecting me. So those are the belief for me. I put in my, the back of my mind, I said I need to go back to Liberia and to help make a difference. And believe me, after 2 years, we're beginning to see light at the end of the tunnel. It's a huge, huge opportunity. But come this opportunity, it's a big challenge for sure. Because it's a huge sacrifice. We're talking about infrastructure is out. When you're talking about starting up a business, there's no public utility like electricity. You got to first think about getting a generator to run your factory and all these challenges. But if you think about it, believe me, you would not make any difference or make any move. So like I asked myself, if the Chinese can come from all the way China, come and set up a business here in Liberia, and taking this capital back home, why not me? Why I can't do it here when I'm supposed to be, as a citizen, of this country, a moral responsibility to make a difference. Right now, I have about 18% employed, and just imagine if you multiply by the household in Liberia, we're talking about almost 90 to 100% being affected, lives being affected positively,
So I want to touch on something you alluded to. This idea that the general psyche of citizens in Liberia is that we need outsiders to basically create industries to serve our needs. Give me some idea of what you think would need to change, perhaps in the education system, perhaps in the way we socialize our children, perhaps in the attitudes we nurture as communities, in the way we carry ourselves. Speak to your countrymen and women in terms of that. Perhaps there's a policymaker listening, educators, innovation architects who are thinking about interventions in the education space. How do we get more people thinking the way you think?
Like we say in Liberia, Liberians take everything but risks. It's just part of our culture. Liberians do not like to take risks. They will feel comfortable. They feel that doing business is for foreigners. And that's how, since 1847, Liberia got its independence, foreigners have been controlling our economy. So it's all the way deeply seated. If you tell a guy now, hey, you just graduated from college, come here and manage this business, he would not feel comfortable. You prefer wearing a necktie to go and sit behind a desk to work for someone, and that's just being it. They do not like to take risks. So for us, we want to prove exceptional, and that's why we have taken on the responsibility that Gringo Liberia is not just about profit. We are like a social enterprise, and we try to visit learning institutions, visit kids, trying to tell them, mentor them that, look, it's not only about you going to school. Yes, you can go to school to become an engineer, but if you manage your firm as an engineer, you are doing business. You are developing an entrepreneurial spirit. So that's one of the things for us at Green Gold. We try to do it. It's a long shot, but always after anyone. 1,000 miles always start with the first one, and that's what we're doing in Liberia. Thank God that the guys around, people, the government, like I told you from the beginning, there's nothing like any support for SME. Just erase it. If you want to wait for government to tell you, there's a SME funding out there, go and get it because you have started this business, you will never get it. But go for it. Other guys will be there, to come. And look, after 2 years, now, for example, the Ignite Fund, Spark, came by, and they're willing to help us,
And sometimes it's about being ready when an opportunity arises. So give me a sense of...
We're taking a quick break to tell you a little more about Spark, the presenting sponsor of this series. Spark is a Dutch NGO with a difference. Since being founded by 2 Dutch students in the 1990s to stem the degradation of higher education in the Balkans, the organization has grown to deliver expert services in 15 of the world's most vulnerable countries, including Libya, Liberia, and Syria. Spark bridges the gap between higher education and entrepreneurship by providing scholarships to displaced people, catalyzing student participation through civic leadership, and providing entrepreneurs with the support they need to succeed. To learn more about how Spark is rebuilding futures through vocational education and SME growth programs in the Middle East, as well as North and Sub-Saharan Africa, visit sparkonline.org. That's spark-online.org. And now, back to the conversation.
In your case, Ayham, you have two failed businesses under your belt. Now, granted, the failure wasn't your fault, but they're failures nonetheless. That must work on a man's mind, a woman's mind. So share with us how you've confronted and dealt with failure and used it to spur you forward, because you had lots of reasons not to carry on, I imagine, or maybe you didn't. Let me into your head a bit.
After each failure, as you say, when I am forced to leave everything and start from zero, you have two solutions. Well, the first solution is to sit back and cry. The second solution is to stand on your feet. When you feel that you have a good experience and you can be successful in the future, you can't leave it. You have a dream. You can't leave that dream. I had to start again and again. As I told you, I have to start again. Maybe the first fail, I started normally, no problem. The second one, I was exhausted. I had to take a rest for 1 month, but then we started again. But I told you, no other solutions. Leave everything and cry and think about the past, or to look for the future. For me, I was only looking for the future. I needed to have a very big company in steel structures. I want to have customers from all over the world. I need to have a very good team of experience and professionals. So when you feel that you have the power, when you feel that you have the experience to do that, eventually you will not stop. You will not leave your dream and sit back. So every time I fail, or the country fails me, the host country that fails me, I start again. And in the future, if anything happens, I will start again, I think. I will not sit back.
What is your workaround in terms of the team that you build to support you? Because you're obviously the star of this team. It's quite obvious. I mean, this wouldn't be happening without you being the glue and the instigator each time you start again. What's your formula for surrounding yourself with the right people in different countries?
Yes, the main idea that when you say I am Syrian, after the war, it means that you have friends in all over the world. This is the one benefit from the Syrian war, is that wherever you go, you have Syrians. So whenever I go, I have some friends, maybe in the past, maybe in the college, so I contact them, trying to rebuild my stuff. It goes step by step. Someone is good in other country, I bring him, he takes a good salary. Maybe I have from other country, other cities. But finally, Syrians in all other countries, they left Syria. We have millions out of Syria. So I can rebuild my team maybe in any country that I wish to start again.
Do you think that's a culture that was already ingrained in Syrian culture? Is this a function of dealing with a bad situation? Are Syrians culturally geared towards collaborating with each other regardless of where they are in the world, or is this a new thing?
I'll give you a general idea about the Syrian people. Syrian people are hard-working people. Normally, they work 12 hours a day. They don't have a problem. They work on Sunday. They work every day. They like the work. Even I am from an industrial city. It's called Aleppo. It's the biggest industrial city in Syria. So they like industry. They work 12 hours. They don't have any problem. For that, my team is always supporting me. Not I am supporting him. He's supporting me because they are hardworking. They like their job. And they are professional in what they do.
How big is your team?
Once I was in Libya, it was 100, 110. Now it's small. It's about 25%, but it's growing. Year by year, it's growing. We are moving in small steps, but we want to make it fixed steps, not to have any failure again. We are working step by step in order that the third time we should be accurate. We don't have other chances. So we are working step by step, building ourselves, building our team, and it's going well, I think. It's going well.
And so each time you start up, what are the sources of your finance? We've heard Morris say that he cashed out his retirement fund. What did you do to set up the first time and each subsequent time? Who did you tap? Did you tap this network you're talking about?
Yes, funding for the first time was easy because it's a family business. We had some fundings for that. For the second time, it was okay, not a problem. For the third time, it was a disaster because you lost most of the savings in the two other countries, and now you start from zero funding, zero staff, zero connections, zero everything. So we start, as I told you, small steps. But since we have good customers from Africa and customers from Iraq, Qatar, since we have a good connections from the last two factories, we started maybe fast, not that long. Yani.
Morris, talk to me about your relationship with your community, the Liberian diaspora, the Liberians that never left, and of course the Liberians who have recently, like you, chosen to return. What are the dynamics of that community? What do you like? What's praiseworthy? What needs to change? What would you like to see happen?
The fact of the matter is, especially I talk about the diaspora, the guy, some of them, not all, but some of them, when they heard about us planning, trying to go back home, they come and talk to you and say, are you crazy? What are you going back to that place for? I said, that your country, you're talking about your birthplace, you calling it that place, and sometimes we have the argument, they could not convince me. I tell them, I say, hey, Liberia need you most. But like we will say, you cannot get everybody to think like you, but Liberians in the diaspora have this opportunity in terms of education, finances, and all the stuff, but practically like they abandon their country. In a sense, no more wars, in Liberia. Liberia has huge opportunity that when you get to Liberia and you're not too careful, you will become spread out, trying to jump on everything, But because we do not see it, or it is not in our DNA to think that they will develop entrepreneurship, foreigners who come visiting see it that they never return to go back home. They say, no, this is an opportunity, I should jump on it, And as for the folks home, they are willing, they want the opportunity. Right now, the whole unemployment, you're talking about 90%. The young man wake up in the morning, he doesn't have any kind of skill, no opportunity for him, So when they see you in their community, trying to create an opportunity for them, they are very supportive. They are supported the least opportunity you get. You won't believe it, when we first started this company, we had about 17 volunteers that went on for 120 days, 120 days without pay. They come up, clean up the place, they're trying to build. They say, look, because this factory, you're bringing in our community, and I know it's a source of employment, we will support you, and that's how it been. So they are like looking for opportunity. So it really give a, real good, sense that truly what we're doing, it's not just about profit or trying to accumulate wealth and all this stuff. But for me, I'm very passionate about trying to give back to my community. Even if I give all, it doesn't matter to me, because believe me, if you accumulate all the wealth, you get 100 horses. How many rooms you sleep in? Only one. If you get 500 beds, you can only sleep on one bed. And that's my belief in this world. If you die today, you get $1 million. They're not going to put that $1 million in your casket. So for me, let me make an impact while I'm living, so that tomorrow, I will say, yes, I played my part, and I play it, in a passionate way,
What's your relationship with your home country? It continues to be a sore spot, I'm sure. I can only imagine having to deal with the ongoing trauma of seeing my country of birth go through such a hard time. What is your current relationship and perhaps your hope for what the next chapter of history might show for Syria, and how you might be a part of it?
Unfortunately, that when you see the country that you lived in now, it's destroyed, and it's in a very bad situation. Obviously, in the near future, in the next 1 or 2 years, it will stay in the same situation, because as you see, it's a very complicated situation now in Syria. Whenever I think about Syria, I feel sad, because this is my home country. I wonder when I'm going to go back. But I know it's very hard in the near future, maybe in the near 6 or 10 years, because it's destroyed. No electricity, no water. It's not alive there. It's not alive. And also the bad thing that all my relatives, most of my relatives are now out of Syria. So when I plan to go back, I will be alone maybe in my country. This is a bad idea, but I have to think about it. And
so you do plan to go back though?
For the near future, no.
But I mean, in say the future you imagine?
For sure, I'll be back to my country, but in the far future. For now, it's hard until it settles down, until it's safe, until we have resources for everything, until that we can start our work again. But as I told you, in the far future, not now, for sure.
When I say home, how do you define that for yourself right now in the state you're in?
It's the place I love. It's the place I want my children to live. But we left it. We left our home. Now we are living in a strange country for us. They are not our people. Finally, it's not my country. But you have to find a solution for yourself. You have to go on. You should not stop. You have to accept this situation. And for me, I think I'm living a good life now in Turkey, and the country is good, the government is good there. So I'm happy in Turkey now. But sure, my country is the point that I'm looking forward in the future, that I'm going back in the future.
So I have only a couple more questions for you both. Well, I'd like you to factor in on some of the policy or the political narratives that influence the way more well-resourced parts of the world try and intervene or aid lesser developed parts of the world. So Morris, you've lived in the US, arguably the world's biggest disperser of foreign aid. You've lived in a society that has attitudes towards what we need as a continent. What do you make of that rhetoric? What would you like to fix? Speak to America, speak to what you're exposed to here in Europe, and or even some of what you experience dealing with these people, some well-meaning, some less well-meaning, interacting with you in Liberia.
It's glary for me. I can tell you the experience, just practical. Liberia, before and during the Civil War, there had so much aid that came in. The latest one was recent in 2014 when the Ebola crisis, came about, and almost $1 billion aid went into the economy. But today, go there, you don't see the effect because those that are bringing the aid, taking it out. They practically taking it out. The guy is coming. He said he's bringing in $20 million, for this kind of program. But just his salary within that $20 million, he's making almost $100,000 a day. So what effect will it really, have on the beneficiary, And as a result, our people being entrenched in this mentality of just receiving, and they say, NGO, non-governmental organization. And over the years, they tell you, we brought in 20 million, we brought in 50 billion. You do not see the effect. And I think, for example, the innate role of non-sensing to say, hey, instead of keep giving the guy fish, let us teach them how to fish. And with this entrepreneurial development, if Innite can really get on a global platform, that would be really, really good because it doesn't require rocket scientists to say you want to do business. The guy is already doing business. All he needs would be that support and distinguishing his little, salary from that of the operation of the business. Those basic. And that's what Spark in Liberia, I've seen them going all the way down to the grassroots. Because once you get those, basic, you truly giving the guy independence, financial independence. Because I don't care how much aid you bring to Africa or to Liberia, you will not see nothing, no effect. And the thing about aid is so sad, you won't believe it. If you go out to those aid agencies, those NGO, the International Non-Governmental Organization, you say, look, this is a concept paper. I want to develop this factory. I want to produce this. I have this innovative idea. This is what I want to do. They tell you, sorry, the funding we have, it cannot go for that purpose. And sadly, you just sit, and you die with your dream. That's the situation. So I hope this time they can retailer, calibrate this whole aspect of aid going to Africa because it doesn't make sense. You're not helping us because those that carrying the aid, believe me, their salary in there, they're bringing the capital right out of the country. Infrastructure remain the same, and we do not really see the effect. And the worst one will be that mentality. Because the guys now in Liberia, over the years, keep seeing the aid, coming, and they just feed that. they would not survive without aid. So they wait for a job, international NGO to come create jobs instead of supporting private sector initiative that will create more jobs. So I hope and pray that Unite, and Spark will take on this initiative like what they're doing now. When I listened this morning at conference hall, working with Syrians, that fled their country, trying to empower them. That's the way to go, because once you do your business, you are truly independent. Then going out there, giving the guy aid, you're not helping him. You are not helping him or her. So I would say again that the global community need to rethink, need to retailor their whole concept of supporting or giving aid to Africa.
And I think our governments need to do a better job of representing our interests. I can certainly speak to some policymakers who I've observed, some I've spoken to directly, who are starting to appreciate the implications of taking a quick fix or a quick win, in PR terms, are starting to see that there's a real tax on our long-term ability to gain true independence and financial stability, economic progress. So I think it's a two-way thing. I do think that while the resources are centered in certain parts of the world, there might be a moral obligation for them to redirect this, especially given how we were part of their beneficiation without actually properly being remunerated. But in time, we also need decent leadership that will demand better and demand better deals. So you already gave me a sense of what you feel on this topic earlier on. Speak to a policymaker listening right now. What do you want them to know?
I want them to know that when you have a hole in the street, you don't build the hospital beside the hole that to cure the people that having accidents. You have to close this hole in the street. For the policy makers now, they see the war, they see the problem that the refugees, the Syrian, for my case, the Syrian refugees, they don't want to find like the cure, the final solution. They are always focusing on some solution that's not supportive. Maybe to provide them food, shelter. This is not the solution. The solution is to be political from the highest levels to end this problem, and everybody will be back to his country, and he will manage his own things, not to be dependent on someone to feed him. It's not a way of living. So you have to work on the high levels. Countries should work together to find a solution to our country and end this massacre, end it finally. And I think they know the solution, but nobody wants to do it. That's my idea about that.
I agree. Some of these things aren't rocket science. And I've just come to appreciate that people will typically do what's in their selfish interest, and that's an unfortunate truth about humanity. That not a lot of people like that sentiment, because people like to think we're inherently good, but I feel different. I think there's a brokenness that we need to address as humanity. Nevertheless, that's just me. Guys, in closing, before I thank you for being on the show, you guys have provided such incredible insight. Do you guys have children? Do you have children, Ayham?
Yes, I have one.
You mentioned you have children, Morris, but yours are quite grown, aren't they?
I have 4 kids. The youngest being 6 years old, and like I told you, it's a huge sacrifice. Leaving wife and family home of a 6-year-old girl, and you say you're moving back to Africa, it's a big challenge. But, initially I want to just thank her. I'm sure one day she will listen to this podcast to know that, hey, thank her for the support, because if it were not her, say, hey, darling, that's what you believe in, go for it, and that's where we are today. So I want to really say, yes, I have a family that's very supportive of my dream, and if it were not because of her, Mrs. Orita Dougba, I want to say thank you so much.
So you've already preempted what I wanted to ask you. I wanted you to just focus on your children for a bit. I don't have children yet. I do find that when I ask this question often, it does help the person I ask to just strip away all the non-important stuff down to the most important thing. So your children might not be at the age where they have the patience to listen for 45 minutes to what daddies are talking about. But when they do, I want you to tell them one thing that sums up your experience, what you're learning. I don't want to preempt what that is. But Ayham, what's that one thing?
The one thing that they should do, they should be well educated and to work hard. And after that, they will find a solution for their lives.
You're talking work ethic all the way.
Yeah, I hope so, because this is the main thing that will put you on the successful way. You will find the success in this way. You should be well educated and work hard, and everything will come after that.
You already got your say in, but the one thing, reduce it to one thing that you want for your offspring, man, when they listen to this.
Tell them every day that no one will realize your dream for you. You know, go after your own dream, because if you depend on someone, will never work. So like they always tell them, go after your dream. And like education, yeah, is the basis. Keep focus on it. And once you are educated, you'll be able to go and do whatever you want to do. But anything that you believe in life, go for it. Go for it. Don't stop. Go for it.
Morris Dougba of Green Gold Liberia. Al-Maksoud of Al-Maksoud for steel construction. Thank you both for being on the African Tech Roundup. I am honored, gentlemen, to have had this opportunity to chat with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. And in 2018, thank you.
All right.